Well, now, amid a week of very public Tory infighting over Europe, it's not just banking regulations which ministers are arguing about. In another blast of Euroscepticism, George Osborne declared the EU, its treaties, were fit for purpose. Sorry, let's go back on that a moment. The EU declared that the EU's treaties were not fit for purpose. We can't go on like this, he said, as he demanded a new treaty to protect Britain and the other EU members not in the euro. Without that, he said, Britain would face a stark choice.
I believe it is in no one's interest for Britain to come to face a choice between joining the euro or leaving the European Union. We don't want to join the euro, but also our withdrawal from a Europe we'd succeeded in reforming would be bad for Britain. And a country of the size and global reach of the UK leaving would be very bad for the whole of the European Union.
But does the rest of Europe want another round of treaty negotiations, with Britain demanding new terms of membership? The European Commission chief did not sound keen today when he accused countries like Britain of a narrow, chauvinistic idea of how to protect their interests. We're joined now from Strasbourg by the former Belgian Prime Minister, Guy Verhofstadt, who's now a member of the European Parliament, and in the studio, the Conservative MP, Jesse Norman. Guy Verhofstadt, do you accept actually that many members of the European Union do want reforms, and that in many ways the dispute is that you don't want new treaties and you don't want Britain setting out what those treaties should be?
I think you put the question to a wrong person, because I am very much in favor of a treaty change. I'm very much in favor to have more European cooperation, integration and coordination. And I think we need for that some new provisions in the treaties, because the Euro crisis have shown that we need more enhanced cooperation, certainly inside the Eurozone. But what Mr. Osborne is talking about is more leaving the European Union. And that, I think, is a very bad idea for British workers, for the British industry, for the British economy. And it was today or yesterday that the boss of Ford UK, the car manufacturer, have said if the UK is leaving the European Union, we shall leave with our factories the UK. So that's a clear message from British industry and British economy to Mr. Osborne.
Well, now, Jesse Norman, you've got an ally. He wants fundamental treaty changes and is excited at the prospect, but he doesn't want the way you're going about it. Let's...
Well, it's not quite clear what question you're asking me, John, but the speech the Chancellor made is a very serious and thoughtful piece of work, and actually your viewers would do very well to read it. And there's a very large amount of overlap, actually, between what the Chancellor's saying and what Mr. Verhofstadt is saying. The Chancellor is saying these treaties, as they presently stand, are not fit for purpose. They do not ground the Eurozone adequately, and they do not protect the out members in the way that they should be properly protected from a potential
That is, the
caucus,
members who aren't in the EU.
The members who are not in the Eurozone, from a potential caucus of the members who are in. And so there's actually a lot of overlap between the two sides. And the question is how that can be turned into a stable political consensus across the different parties.
A nod of the head from Guy Verhofstadt. You can see perhaps a way in which, therefore, these very firm Conservative critics this side of the water and you could find common ground to reform the European Union. Is that why you nodded your head?
I think it's absolutely necessary that in the coming years we have what we call a new convention. A convention in which we try to solve these problems, because the Euro crisis have definitely shown that we need, certainly in the Eurozone, more integration. You need an economic union, you need a fiscal union, you need a political union. Because let's be honest about it, a currency without a state authority behind cannot work. You can have a state with using a foreign currency that exists, but a currency without a state authority behind doesn't exist. And that explains also why we, with a lower debt in the Eurozone, we have more problems and higher interest rates than, for example, the US or Japan, who have, in fact, a higher public debt today than Europe.
Well, now, Mr. Verhofstadt has taken you to a place you do not wish to go, which is political union. He has spoken of fiscal union and of all various other unions, which I think scare the living daylights out of you. Is that correct, Jesse Norman?
Well, I think actually what he's saying is very sensible. What he's saying is, if you're in the Eurozone, then you must have the mechanisms for fiscal and monetary stabilisation that allow the Eurozone to succeed.
And that is common ground. Indeed, that was predicted. Union.
The Chancellor said 3 years ago that there would be a remorseless logic leading towards greater integration for the members of the Euro. What the stakes are now as it were, is the question of what happens to the people who aren't in the Eurozone and whether or not the process of integration leaves them forced with the choice of either joining, which many of them don't, including us, want to do, or having to leave the Euro.
Okay,
and it would be not in anyone's interest.
Question.
It wouldn't be in anyone's interest, the Chancellor's arguing, for that choice to exist and for people to be forced
That's a very clear question. What are you going to do to the non-Euro members? Force them to come in because they can't cope with not doing so, or force them to leave because they absolutely don't want to do so?
That's their choice to make. It's a choice that they make. And for me, the most important is that besides the Eurozone and the Economic and Monetary Union, we continue with the single market in any way.
But you don't want to reach out to them.
In Europe.
You don't want to reach out to them. Make some provision for them.
Why I should do that? I think the interest of everybody is that Britain stays in the European Union. And the biggest threat to the interest of Great Britain are all these populists and nationalists for the moment, who are in fact saying, okay, let's use this debate about the future of the European Union to leave the Union. Because let's be honest about this, and Mr. Norman knows it, inside the Tories they are a little bit split between those who want to have a negotiation with us and those who simply want to follow UKIP and leave the European Union. What is the baddest idea that ever have been circulated?
We have no time, but in 10 seconds it surely writes the words on the blackboard, we have to leave.
No, I don't think it does that. I think the Chancellor's put the question squarely, and it's now up to both sides and all sides in the European debate to come forward in a way that allows the Eurozone to succeed and allows the other members to flourish within a more competitive and better functioning European Union.
Jesse Norman, Guy Verhofstadt, thank you both very much indeed. Cathy.